What role do you think the U.S. needs to play in reclaiming Mosul?
It's going to need to play a major role, and I don't mean troops on the ground necessarily, but without U.S. ability to adequately train those forces that will have to go on the ground, coordinate all that with all the air assets and everything else that is going to be necessary to reclaim Mosul, is going to require a lot of sophistication and a lot of coordination. And the United States is about the only nation that can provide that. We had a detailed discussion about that yesterday in my Intelligence Committee. Present was a representative from the Department of Defense relative to what it would take and what is necessary and how all this should play out. It is important to do this right. A failure there would be such a boost for ISIL in terms of recruiting and in terms of their recognition as a power is just unacceptable. And so this needs to be thought through very, very carefully and done right, and there should not be a rush to do it.
Why is this an important step in the fight against ISIS?
It's a major city. It's a major takeover. Just think about someone occupying the United States and controlling, one of the top 2 or 3 major cities. It's well over 1 million people. Having stated that this is the goal and that this is the strategy, which I thought was a mistake to define that as with as much definition as took place through the commander of the forces, timing and everything else. It's just not what you just like signaling the pro football team you're playing on Sunday what your playbook's going to be. Having said that, though, we put it on the line as a really key issue and strategy position in terms of what we're going to do relative to ISIL and ISIS. So that's why I say once having said that, then it's got to be done right, and that's going to make sure we got to make sure we have the adequate amount of time to get the right pieces in place to accomplish the goal and to succeed.
President Obama has identified airstrikes as a key part of his strategy in the fight against ISIS. Is that enough?
I think it's proven that it's not enough. ISIL still is alive and well and continuing to seize some territory. We've had some setbacks for them. We slowed their advance, but we saw in Anbar province they had taken territory that surprised everybody and lobbing shells into Baghdad. So this is the real thing, and I think we need to understand it from that standpoint. And so coordinating this and doing it right, as I said again, will say again, is absolutely essential now that we've put this in play. It means the U.S. has to take the lead in providing the necessary supportive assets, and that's a lot more than just air power. It's reconnaissance, it's intelligence, it's getting the Iraqi army trained to the right abilities to succeed, along with whatever other coalition we put together.
Some Americans are worried this could turn into another Iraq war. What would you say to those people?
Well, we hopefully learned a lot from our inability to do what we had hoped we could do the first time around. And what I'm saying to those people is that we need to look at ISIL for what it is. It is a barbaric but very well funded, socially adept from a media standpoint organization that is like a cancer spreading throughout countries. Left untouched and not dealt with, we will pay a much greater price in the future. And so I think the real issue is now before us in the coming years. I think the President needs to recognize that, and we need to form that coalition of nations. And I have stressed from the very beginning, it must include significant representation and participation from Muslim moderate nations. They have to step up. We have shown that we just simply can't impose our way on the Middle East. This is a threat, a worldwide threat to the United States, as they have stated. But without moderate Muslim states stepping into the breach here and standing up and saying enough is enough, we're not going to succeed. So that is a huge challenge from a diplomatic standpoint for the President to engage this. Now, ISIL's helping us because this barbaric actions that they're taking is energizing nations like Jordan, Egypt, and others. And I'm sorry that it has to take that to get their attention. But we need their involvement, and Turkey's probably the next country that needs to step up.
Reporters were briefed on some of the details of the operation to retake Mosul, including a rough timeline and how many fighters could be involved. That's highly unusual. Do you think releasing that information was appropriate?
No, I don't think it was appropriate. I think the commander was way out of line in terms of defining what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. I mean, it's like I said, it's like the coach of the Colts telling the coach of the Patriots, this is what our offensive plan is going to be, and here's when we're going to do it. We're going to do it in the third quarter, and we're going to use these amount of troops. I mean, I don't understand that at all, unless it's for deception purposes. So we're trying to get to the bottom of this, and as I said, I spent hours yesterday in the Intelligence Committee debating this and a number of other issues, but all these questions that you've raised were raised there.